Marshmallow Fanboy back with another review, this time of a lot of Darth Vaders. Believe it or not, 3 of the 4 of these are fairly recent. The 2 Darth Vaders from Obi-Wan Kenobi, including the Duels End exclusive from Target, and the Return of the Jedi 40th Anniversary Darth Vader are recent. The Infinities Darth Vader, I think, is maybe 2 years old, a year or two old. It's been a little bit of time, but I thought I have him and I have him in the package and I haven't opened him. Let's take him out of the package. But first, let's go over some of the packaging. Now, Darth Vader from Obi-Wan is, as you can see, just the classic Darth Vader. Kind of nothing to him. There's no kind of removable helmet, no doodads, no nothing. This is pre A New Hope, so if there are inaccuracies with the paneling and things like that, you can kind of chart it up to that. And plus, you'll see in a minute the Duels End version has a nice slash right through the panel, so it probably gets replaced at some point, or it definitely gets replaced at some point. But you can see Anakin's face sticking out of it a little bit. There we go. Yeah, Anakin's sticking out a little bit. I don't know if the helmet is removable or if it's just kind of sculpted that way. I don't think it would be removable. I think it'd be more stable to be sculpted that way. But you can see the differences in the packaging. You can see sort of the confident, ferocious Vader and the kind of Vader where he's just really, really angry. Those are his 2 speeds, dominant and angry. Maybe sometimes at the same time. So the Duels End was a Target exclusive. He was kind of a pain to get. Target exclusives are generally pretty easy, but I don't know if they announced when it was going on sale and I just didn't hear it and I didn't know about it, but I tried to get it after it had gone on sale and it was sold out. So there's a lot of those where they'll do like the vintage Boba Fett with kind of original colors or comic book colors or something like that. And once that thing is pre-sold out, it's pretty much sold out permanently. And there isn't really any way for Target to kind of email you and say, hey, this thing is back up, or there's no mailing, or not mailing list, but no waiting list, nothing you can do about it really. But the Duels End Darth Vader popped up at some point, and I ordered it. I was really excited about it. Now, Infinities Darth Vader imagines a world in which Vader knows that Luke and Leia are his kids, kind of up front, and he makes a decision to turn back to the light side in order to be with his kids. And this was I think there were 3 volumes of it. One that covered A New Hope, one that covered what would have been sort of The Empire Strikes Back, and one that would have been Return of the Jedi. But it started out as a mini-series at Dark Horse, and then they released a sequel to it, and then they released another one to complete the trilogy. It was a really good series. I don't know if it was... I know it was collected in like an omnibus. I'm pretty sure it was collected in omnibus. I don't want to say that out loud. But it was a really good story. It was like What If, but in the Star Wars universe. And I think it was pre like the prequel trilogy. I think it was pre meeting Anakin and Padme and all that. So I don't think that any of those elements were touched on because they weren't in the lexicon at the time, but this is definitely a really cool figure. He's a Darth Vader in all white. If for any other reason, the point of difference is that this is good guy Darth. He's all white. It's very striking, and it's going to be fun to open, I'm predicting. Now, let's see. Comes in the packaging with some cool artwork on it. Comes with yeah, the packaging is cool. It has this this clasp on the front with the Velcro, where you just have to kind of look at it. But it's the old window packaging. Some of these, when they do the comic book versions of the characters, come in these boxes, and they're very cool. So let's see, the 40th anniversary kind of continues the tradition that was put forth by A New Hope 40th anniversary and by The Empire Strikes Back's 40th anniversary, where they did the card back and they did the classic photo for that character, and they just made the bubble a little bit larger so that it would balance on your racks at the store. Of course, it has the back to show you what else is in that wave. I did pick up R2-D2 and Luke Skywalker. I'll be opening those at some point. I'll probably be opening R2-D2 next. But this one comes with all of the accoutrements, the hand that cuts off, the Vader mask, the Vader helmet, so you can recreate the very end of Return of the Jedi. And of course, this one has a little bit different colors for the central panel than does the Obi-Wan and the Duels end Obi-Wan. So we're going to open all 4 of these up, and we're going to see what we think about them. We're going to take a closer look at all 4 Darth Vaders. Okay, now that they're all out of the package, let's take a closer look, starting with one that I dug out that was already open. This was either the very first Darth Vader that was released, or it might have been part of it couldn't have been the 40th anniversary wave. It has the chain, the eyes are a little bit wider. This was either the first or second Darth Vader. I think the second one was that Walgreens exclusive with the transparent head, like he was getting hit by lightning. But it was very early. It was 7 or 8 years old. It could have predated Disney's purchase of Lucasfilm. I'm not sure. I want to say this is the first version. I just can't say that for 100% sure. But there are a couple differences with this kind of original or 10-year-old one. First is kind of the hemming on the capes. You can see that there's some actual sewing on these. The rest of these are cloth, absolutely, but they're not hemmed. They're not sewn on. They're just a cloth that's kind of draped on. And these are nice. The hemmed ones sort of hang a little bit funny because there's a lot of weight to them. They could have put some wiring in there. That would have been very cool. I don't know what this kind of triangle patch is for. This is kind of the same. That's not the same material. It's close to the same material, but it's kind of the same sculpting. It's a little bit of I don't see a whole lot of difference. There's cloth here on the sides, which there are on each of the figures. There's cloth overhang on these. That's nice. The panel is very cool. And like I said, there's a chain front that hangs the cape. It's not attached to the cape, but it's kind of a nice thing. I don't remember Darth Vader having a chain in the movies or anything, but it is very cool. It does have one element to it, which is that you could take off the helmet to reveal the sculpting underneath. Now, the sculpting underneath isn't as nice as the new one. It's pretty good, but that new one has a lot of color, a lot of sculpting. It looks like it's a larger head, fills it out a little bit different. I can't talk about how accurate that mouthpiece is to the one that he has on the Return of the Jedi figure, but I thought it might be interesting to take a look at one of the very earliest figures, just for a point of difference, just point of comparison. That helmet, of course, the eyes are really big on that one, and the nose feels a little bit weird. Like when light hits it, it looks a little bit red or white, depending on how the light hits it. But that one is very cool. It's, like I said, it's 10 years, almost 10 years old, but it is very cool. So I'm going to put that aside. And since I was on one that was mostly Return of the Jedi, let's go through the Return of the Jedi version, which came with basically the same thing that I showed you, except that There's a helmet and a faceplate for this one, and they're two separate pieces. So one would go on, and then the helmet would go on over it. And that's kind of cool if you wanted to put together like an Empire Strikes Back one where he's just wearing this part, and you had something lowering the helmet onto it. So the Return of the Jedi Darth Vader actually sort of helps you cover two different Darth Vaders. The Empire Strikes Back Darth Vader and the Return of the Jedi one. This replaces, of course, the stump that's on there. So this is before he got his hand cut off, of course. The lightsaber is very cool. I can't speak to the accuracy of the hilt, but I like it. And let's take a closer look at Return of the Jedi Darth Vader. First, the most obvious component is the cape. The cape hangs really nicely. Whatever position you put it in, it tends to stay in that position. It's attached under the neck, it looks like. That's very cool. Oh, this might be a separate piece. No, it's together. Okay. So you don't want to push on it too hard because that makes the leg spread. So the cape attached at the neck. This drapes down here through the belt and around the waist, and the cloth around the kind of the torso. The cloth kind of drapes down from here and then goes through here. So this is all one big piece. This part. You can pull it a little bit closer together if you want this to be a little bit more together, more accurate. I'm not going to go through all the articulation. It's basically the same articulation that it's always been, except for maybe the newer ones have, then the older ones don't have pins in the elbows either. That's pretty cool. But the Return of the Jedi one, the face is really cool. So the face has a lot of detailing to it. And a lot of paint apps. The other one that I just showed you was pretty much kind of one color. Didn't have a whole lot of sculpting to it. And the head was smaller. So yeah, the original one had the back of the head. It's kind of less pronounced. And see, scar on the cheek. I mean, the sculpting is essentially the same, except that this one is noticeably smaller. As far as the head goes, it's noticeably smaller. So with the upgraded one, you're getting a better sculpt, a better paint apps on it, and you're getting the stump, which the other one didn't have. The other one, if you wanted to take the mask off and play from the end of the movie, that end of the movie figure would still have his hand, which, it's not accurate. I mean, totally ignoring the fact that the other two collapsed. I'm not sure what happened there. So that is Return of the Jedi Anniversary Darth Vader. And let's move on to the next Darth Vader. Infinities Darth Vader is super cool. I'm not a big fan of how the nose of the uniform seems to be. It's either got a silver hit in it or it's the way the shadows lay. Oh, that's the way the shadows lay. Still a little weird looking. All in white with a shadow attached to it. It's got the silver eyes. Let me see if the helmet comes off for some reason. The helmet does not come off. Okay. This is basically what I just showed you. The cloth that drapes through the armor, down through the belt. And of course it does the same on the back. Comes through down and unlike the first Darth Vader I showed, there's no hem, there's no obvious sewing, but there is some bunching on the cape that gives it a lot of volume. It's a huge piece of material, so you could do a ton with it. It's just the material's much larger. It drapes differently. It's really nicely done. The cape is. Boom, you can put it out to the sides. You can kind of have it hanging. You can kind of do whatever you want with it. It's just really striking because it's all in white. and it's super cool. But that is Darth Vader from Star Wars Infinities. Darth Vader from Obi-Wan Kenobi. When this one came out, I couldn't wait to get it. It had been a while since I got into Darth Vader. I think that when I listened to Robo's channel, the Foosh, and he does the Foosh Weekly, and he goes over some of these figures, and he says things like, oh man, this figure just came out like a year or two ago, but it makes sense to keep figures like Vader available because there are a lot of people coming into the hobby, or people who came into the hobby but haven't had a chance to get Darth Vader yet. And I agree, but also I get really excited when I see, a Darth Vader advertiser or something. I go, I'm going to get this. I don't know if the sculpting is different, and I don't know ahead of time kind of what it's going to look like, and I don't compare it to old stuff. I just completely give in and go, I'm getting a Darth Vader from Obi-Wan Kenobi, dag nabbit, and then I just grab it. So this is the standard, very standard Darth Vader. This is the classic Darth Vader that you would expect. And I know that there's differences in the panel between movies and things like that, but also there was some tricks of the camera where if they reversed the angle or something, that the panel would flip over. So I'm not necessarily harping on the accuracy of the panel. The panel between this one and Return of the Jedi are different, and I just sort of chalk that up to, well, yeah, they were different movies. He probably made some improvements. Anakin was super technical. I think a lot of the things in his costume were things that he made or improved or did something a little bit better with. As far as the Target exclusive Duels end goes, it is the same sculpt. They're just differences in the center of the sculpt where the panel is. There's also of course, the different sculpt of the helmet. The helmet doesn't come off, but there's also some minor damage to the cape where there's some cutting, and it's really hard to see because if you look at it from the front, there's nothing, but there's a little bit of fraying here at the bottom. There's also a hole that nobody can see here in the back, and a little bit of a hole here in the back where it hangs down. And I don't know if there's damage underneath. It would have been cooler if there had been damage underneath, but it looks like it's the same texture. It's just like there's a little gash in the I don't know what you call that. Just the cloth. I'll just call it the cloth. There's no damage anywhere else on him. It would have been nice to have some maybe defensive wounds where it glanced off his gauntlet or something like that. But overall, like if you have to have a damaged Darth Vader, and really you do have to have a damaged Darth Vader because you already have Return of the Jedi Darth Vader. Why not a Darth Vader where he also gets his butt handed to him by his apprentice? No, his master. He gets his butt handed to him by his master, and then he gets his butt handed to him by his kid. He's kind of mid for a Jedi, right? And that is all 4 Darth Vaders. That's 4 kind of recent Vaders. I know Infinities isn't recent, but he's the most recent purchase that I've made of a Darth Vader before I started getting. Of course, the Obi-Wan came out next, and I had to have the Duels end one. I don't know why it was Target exclusive. That should have been a mainline release. Everybody should have been able to grab that one. That one shouldn't be, going for high dollars on eBay or something. It should be, pretty cheap because everybody has it. These are all great Darth Vaders. I'm not sure if there's one I regret getting. There's one that I kind of need all of them, right? I could probably have done without the Obi-Wan Kenobi Darth Vader, only because the Return of the Jedi Darth Vader is Darth Vader. Once you put them all back together and you put the good arm on and everything else, he's Darth Vader. And I didn't super need the Obi-Wan Kenobi one, but I definitely needed the Duels end Obi-Wan Kenobi. Definitely needed, sorry, not Obi-Wan Kenobi, but the Duels end Darth Vader from Obi-Wan Kenobi because it's so strikingly different. It's Vader in kind of a situation in a distress we've never seen him in before. The Infinities one is we've never seen that version before. It's alternate universe. You don't need him. If you're collecting just for things that are canon, then Infinities lifts right out. The Return of the Jedi one, if you don't need a helmet that comes off, if you don't need kind of an Empire Strikes Back one where he's sitting on a throne getting the helmet on, or you don't need a Return of the Jedi one where he's kind of dying at the end, if you don't need that version of him, then the Obi-Wan Kenobi one is perfect. He's just Darth Vader all day. 90% of the movies and the TV series that Darth Vader appears in, he looks just like the one from Obi-Wan Kenobi. That one would be good enough. So if you just got these two, then you would have kind of all the versions. No, you wouldn't. You would need the Return of the Jedi version too. I should have said if you have the Duels End and the Return of the Jedi one, you'd kind of have every version. You'd have a New Hope version. You'd have an Empire Strikes Back version. You'd have a Return of the Jedi version. And you would have a super munched up version from the end of the series Obi-Wan Kenobi. But it depends on what's important to you in your collection, what your display is like, what maybe movie you liked more. Maybe, if you're getting an Empire Strikes Back the specific display, you want one where the helmet, you want the Return of the Jedi one so that you can recreate the helmet kind of being reattached to the armor. If you want a Return of the Jedi one, the Return of the Jedi one works great. And if you want a New Hope one, the Return of the Jedi one works great also. It all depends on what your collecting bent is. I like all four of them. I think all four of them are welcome additions. And even though I just showed you that I have the original, or at least one of the originals from, 8-9 years ago. So with that is it for this edition. I went through 4 Vaders. I didn't show the articulation, but it's pretty average. I think everybody has sort of a mid torso or a waist torso rocker there, so I don't think there'd be any surprises between figures. So until next time, enjoy your toys.